traits, behaviors, and relationships. So by the end of this chapter, we should be able to outline some personal traits and characteristics that are associated with effective leaders, identify your own traits that you can transform into strengths and bring to various leadership roles, recognize autocratic versus democratic leadership behavior, and the distinction between task-oriented and people-oriented leader behavior. Explain how the theory of individualized leadership has broadened the understanding of relationships between leaders and followers. Describe some key leader traits for handling a crisis. The trait approach. Traits. The distinguishing personal characteristics of a leader, such as intelligence, honesty, self-confidence, and appearance. So when you think in terms of leaders and the good leaders, historically, even we all have seen it. Sometimes we can't define it, but we know it when we saw it. Well, let me explain to you. This is what you were seeing. Intelligence, honesty, self-confidence, and appearance. They make you feel good. They look good. They sound good. And it's somebody that you can believe in. And there's substance there. This is the kind of leader that everybody would like to have. The great man approach. A leader perspective that sought to identify the inherited traits leaders possess that distinguish them from people who were not leaders. So when you look at this, a lot of times it's almost like, well, who's got it and who don't? Well, we've got these people who are born with these great traits. Or we've got these people who evolved these great traits. And, if we can get this one leader, then everything centers around everything centers around this person. We succeed because of this person, or we fail because of this person, but it's all centered around a person. So you can see the flaws with that approach. Here's some leader characteristics. As we look at personal, you look at the energy, passion, humility, personal, physical stamina, intelligence, ability. And we look at social characteristics, sociability, interpersonal skills, cooperativeness, ability to enlist cooperation, social background, education, mobility, personality, optimism, cheerfulness, self-confidence. So these are all things, when you look at this, you see the different aspects that makes a good leader. It's not one particular area, it's a couple of different areas. And here they're saying it's personal characteristics, social characteristics, intelligence, ability, work-related characteristics, social background, and personality. So when we look at the characteristics of leaders, look at optimism. Tendency to see positive side of things and expect that things will turn out well. So I like to refer to this as seeing the glasses half full. They never see the glasses half empty. That's a pessimistic way of looking at things. Well, this might not work. They're optimists, so they look at and say, well, you know what? This may work, but we might have to tweak it a few ways to get it to work. But they project positivity and optimism, and that people pick up on that, and that can be contagious. Self-confidence, assurance in one's own judgments, decision-making, ideas, and abilities. This is critical for a leader. I want you to think about something. Who's going to follow a leader who's speaking to you and they don't sound like they're sure of themselves, or they don't seem to be self-confident in what they're saying or what their demeanor is, or their decision making? Nobody wants to be like that. One of the key things when being a leader, is a good leader, is that's the thing is you've got to be able to have self-confidence. And I've always told leaders that I train, if you don't have confidence in yourself, how is anybody else going to have confidence in you? Honesty, truthfulness, and non-deception. Be honest and shoot people straight. If something is bad, tell them it's bad. If it's something is good, tell them it's good. If it's something that's, it's all right, but we can make it better, then tell them that. People like knowing where you stand. Nobody wants to be around somebody. It's like, every time I talk to you, I got to try to figure out or decipher what you're saying because you don't shoot me honest. So when you walk off, I got to try to figure out, well, did she like it or did she not like it? Well, what she mean by this? That's being honest, is just being truthful, and just tell people up front. And sometimes, people are like, well, I don't want to be a bearer of bad news. But you know what? You don't want to be a bearer of false news either. Tell people the truth. Be honest with them and you'll go farther as a leader. Integrity, quality of being whole, integrated and acted in accordance with solid ethical principles. Integrity. Bottom line is this. If you don't have, as a leader, if a leader does not have integrity, you're asking for all kinds of problems. But for one, because they're a leader and they have followers. If the leader doesn't have integrity, what you eventually may find is the followers will start doing what the leader does. Even if they have integrity, they'll start acting as if they don't, because that's what their leader approves. Drive. High motivation that creates a high effort level by a leader. Good leaders have high motivation and they have a drive. They'll be the person, if it takes them, if quitting time is at 5 o'clock and they have 45 minutes to go to finish something, they'll stay 45 minutes to finish it. And also, they will expect you to do the same thing too, if it's something like that. What you find sometimes is you have high motivated leaders and they don't have high motivated people working for them. And that can be an issue. Humility, being unpretentious and modest rather than arrogant and prideful. Humility, pride, and arrogance are killers for leaders. If you have that, it's going to be hard to lead folks because, give you an example. Arrogance and pride will make you say, you know what? Well, make someone say, well, I don't know the answer to this question, but one of my guys do. But if one of your guys come and tell you the answer to that question, you won't take it because you didn't know the answer to it and you won't accept it from them because of your pride and arrogance. Well, he works for me, so obviously he can't know more than me. Know your strengths as a leader. A leader does not need all skills to handle every problem. Interdependence is the key to success. Leaders should hone their strengths, collaborate with others to make up for their weak points. This is fundamental. You don't have to know everything as a leader. A leader does not have to know everything. They just have to know the things that they know and know other people who know other things and use them as resources. That's what good leaders will do. Bad leaders will try to tell you that I know everything and I know more than everybody else. And it's like, so I'm going to make the decision based on what I think is what versus what you tell me to do. You tell me what it is and not tell me what to do, but give me information so I can make a good management decision. Collaborate with others, for your weak points. Listen, everybody's got strengths and everybody's got weaknesses. The difference is good leaders will actually admit that they have weaknesses. Bad ones won't. Strengths, natural talents and abilities that have been supported and reinforced with learned knowledge and skills. So these are the things. I like to add something else to that too. Well, no, it's in there. Natural talents. That's stuff you're born with, how you're naturally wired, and abilities. And then it's get reinforced by the things that you learn in your life experience, whether it's in classroom or outside of the classroom. And that's ultimately how you develop your strengths. So I'll give you an example. You show me somebody at 18 in their strengths or whatever, and then show me that same person at 28, and I'll show you somebody that's actually reinforced those strengths. And this is something that's very important. Matching strengths with roles. There's this thing is like, you know what, if you want to lead people, play to their strengths, not their weaknesses. Give you an example. If you have somebody who's really good at a particular task, but he's not good with people, then don't put him in a role where he's got to deal with a lot of people. Put him in a role where he's actually doing the task. Find another person who may not be good at the task, but is really good at dealing with people, and let her do that. Vertically oriented leadership role. Executive has direct control over people and resources. Uses position of power to accomplish results. And I won't read all those, but this is matching your strengths with weaknesses is exactly the example I just gave you. Collaborative role. And this is looking horizontal leadership role. So working behind the scenes, using personal influence to influence others to get things done. Leaders do this stuff all the time when you're working behind the scenes to get things done. Because here's what these good leaders understand. They're not in it for attaboys and looking good and getting credit. They're actually in it to get results. So they're going to work with other people to get these results, no matter what position that they're in. Advisory provides guidance and support, responsible for developing broad organizational capabilities rather than accomplishing specific business results. So you see this a lot too, when you have leaders that they're in an advisory capacity. And what they're doing is they're providing knowledge and expertise to help things get done. They're usually good at very influencing others. And you must have integrity and honesty if you're in an advisory capacity, because people are trusting you to advise them accordingly. Nobody's coming to someone to get bad advice, to you advise them to do something wrong. They're coming to you because they don't know and they want to find a better way to do something, or they don't know at all. So let's look at some behavior approaches, because this is something that it baffles me at times when people don't understand the differences. And here's one that I'm going to throw out there first. It's the autocratic. Centralized authority derives power from position, control, rewards, or coercion. Effective when the skill difference between the leader and the subordinate is high. So you see, when you have an autocrat, usually it's not good, but it can be effective when you have a leader that knows a lot about something, was very experienced in something, and the subordinates are very low in it. So basically, you can tell people what to do because they don't know how to do it, and you do. Democratic delegates authority, encourages participation, relies on subordinates' knowledge for completion of tasks, and depends on subordinates' respectful. So this is what I was referring to earlier in a democratic type of situation, behavior approach. This is not playing checkers. This is playing chess. So it may slow me down to explain stuff to people and help them learn stuff and help develop them right now in the present. But I know several months from now, because I did train them and prepare them and gave them tasks and gave them responsibility and help them grow and develop, I won't have to do that anymore. And now I can delegate things to them and they can handle it, versus being an autocrat. A lot of times the autocrat won't trust anybody to do anything other than them, because the autocrat believes nobody can do this better than me. So we look at this leadership continuum. So we see boss-centered leadership on one side, and we see subordinate leadership on the other side. So use of autonomy, use of authority by manager, areas of freedom for subordinates. You see the difference. Let's look at the far left. Manager makes decision and announces it. Look at the far right. Manager permits subordinates to function within limits defined by superior. So Justin, I'm not going to read all of those, but when you look at that, there's your two big contrasts right there. Manager is making decisions and doing stuff on one side. Subordinate in it. The manager is allowing the people, because he or she has developed them, allow them to make the decisions that they're authorized and experienced to make, and then he or she will make the decisions that only they can make involving other things. Ohio State studies. So here's studies where develop and administer the leader behavior description questionnaire to employees, resulted in 2 categories of leadership. So if you look at the consideration, this is well, actually, we'll go talk about this in more detail right here. Consideration. The extent to which a leader is sensitive to subordinates, respect their ideas, feelings, and establishes mutual trust. So it's a considerate leader. She is a leader that respects the people that work for her. And here's the one thing that I've seen in my careers and stuff. It's a two-way street. When leaders are good and they respect their followers, the followers a lot of times will respect them too. You can't be disrespect to people and expect them to respect you. You can expect that, but I'm telling you, it doesn't work that way. And this is why this is a good way for a leader to be. Initiating structure. The extent to which a leader is task-oriented and directs subordinates. Work activities towards goal achievement. So you have to initiate structure. And I'm going to tell you right now, what a lot of times you'll find is you have to initiate structure a lot of times when you have new people, inexperienced people, or you're starting new tasks, or you have underperforming folks who are experienced, but they're not doing well. And this is where you have to get down more into in the weeds as a manager with them to start initiating structure. Now, as they get experience and they start improving or whatever else, you start relaxing the structure. University of Michigan studies. So we looked at employee-centered leadership behavior that displays a focus on human needs of subordinates. So when it's employee-centered, what do my people need for them to be successful? If you have 5 people, you may have one person that needs additional training. You may have one person that needs a mentor. You may have one person that doesn't need anything. You may have another person who's got performance issues. So you have all these. So what do my people need? And you look at them as individuals to determine that. You look at them as individuals first, then you look at them as a group. Job-centered leadership behavior in which the leader directs activities towards efficiency, cost-cutting, scheduling with an emphasis on goals and work facilitation. So this is about the job. How can we be better at the job? How can we be more efficient? How can we trim the fat, save some money? Scheduling with the emphasis on work facilitation. How can we schedule stuff and goals and stuff and be smarter about what we do? Leadership grid, a two-dimensional leadership model that describes major leadership styles based on measuring both concern for people and concern for production. So let's take a look at this in more detail. The leadership grid. So when we look at the leadership grid, you see at the bottom left hand, you see low and you see high. So when we look at that, we see up here at the bottom left corner, improvised management. Exertion of minimal effort to get required work done is appropriate to sustain organizational membership. So you look at the very top up here, you see thoughtful attention to the needs of people for satisfying relationships, needs to a comfortable, friendly organization atmosphere. So when you just look at those two right there, you see the difference. And I'm sorry, that's impoverished management. So this is, you get minimal effort down there. You look at the top at the country club management where it's very high. Themes of leader behavior research. So let's look at these examples of leader behaviors. People-oriented behaviors. Acknowledge accomplishments, respect people, be positive, give time and encouragement, show acceptance and compassion, display trust. Task-oriented. Clarify task objectives, job responsibilities, set performance expectations, plan use of resources, coordinate activities, check progress, progress and work quality, evaluate performance. So you see leadership styles down below. One is initiating and one is consideration. And there are times when a good leader would have to do both of those. So we have a check on learning. We'll skip that. So individualized leadership, a theory based on the notion that a leader develops a unique relationship with each subordinate. So again, a theory based on the notion that a leader develops a unique relationship with each subordinate or group member, which determines how the leader behaves towards the member and how the member responds to the leader. Individual leadership. So this is basically saying, I get to know my people individually, and then I get to know the group. And by doing that, guess what happens? They get a chance to know the leader. And this is where you can find where you develop some mutual respect. And I can tell you, this is a lot of times, it goes beyond a professional level. A lot of times it gets on a personal level. It's like, you don't just respect him because he's your manager, you respect him as a person. You don't respect her just as your follower, direct report. You respect her as a person. And when that happens, you can get a lot more done. Stages of development of individual leadership. So let's look here. Vertical dyad linkage. Leaders' behaviors and traits have different effects across followers, creating in-groups and out-groups. Leader-member exchange. Leadership is individualized for each subordinate. Each dyad involves a unique exchange independent of the other dyads. Partnership. Leaders can reach out to create a positive exchange with other subordinates. Doing so increases performance. So when you look at number one, leaders' behaviors and traits have different effects across the followers and creating in-groups and out-groups. So if you have somebody that based upon the leader's behavior is going to determine the in groups and out groups, where people fall, how you treat them. Leader member exchange leaders is individualized for each subordinate. Each dyad involves a unique exchange independent of the other dyads. So this is where your relationship is unique to the person that you're dealing with. And partnership building leaders can reach out to create a positive exchange with every subordinate. Doing so increases performance. So this is where you establish partnership. People don't feel like they work for you. They work for you. They feel like they work with you. And this is how you make them feel, building those partnership relationships. And that can go beyond just the people who work for you. That can go out to other areas of other groups and other units and other teams. Vertical dyad linkage. A model of individual leadership that argues for the importance of the dyad formed by a leader with each member of the group. So when, I can't tell you that right there. I've actually had some people tell me before, I'm working for a guy or I'm working for a woman that I don't think she really knows my name. One guy, remember, told me one time his name was Bryson. His last name was Bryson. And his manager for the longest was calling him Brown. Did you think that guy knew him? No. And this is kind of stuff you talk about. And that was not a good thing. And the guy resented the fact, too, that my manager doesn't, now he didn't deal with him on a daily basis. And there was other people. But he's like, he don't even know my name, let alone know me. So in-group relationships, seen among members with whom leaders spend a disproportionate amount of time. Out-group relationships, seen among members of the group who did not experience a sense of trust and extra consideration. So by virtue of what type of leader you are, it's going to determine, do you have in-groups and out-groups? And what I can tell you is this, that's not a good thing. If you have multiple people working for you and you have in-groups and out-groups, because in-groups are going to be the people that where you do spend time with, you trust them, you talk to them, you have a relationship. The out group, people are going to feel like redheaded stepchildren. You don't do enough for me. You don't talk to me enough. Like the guy I was telling you about earlier when he says, my boss doesn't even know my last name. Definitely in the out group. Leader behavior towards in-group versus out-group. So let's look at this. Look at this in-group. And I won't read through all those, but read through those on your own with the in-group and see. And look at the difference between the in-group and the out-group. And if you got leaders where you have this going on, you can see that that's going to be an issue, primarily with the out-group. Leader-member exchange, individualized leadership model that explores how leadership member relationships develop over time and how the quality of exchange relationship affect outcomes. So based upon the type of relationships you have, the type of relationships you have with members and followers, and the nature and scope of that also determines the nature and scope of your output, how things are done, quality of work, exchange, whatever else. There's an old saying, you may have heard this before, a happy employee is a productive employee. Well, an unhappy employee is an unproductive employee. Leaders can form higher quality relationships with all followers. Higher quality relationship leads to better performance. Followers provide assistance for high performance and participate in influence decisions. So when you have this and you have people involved, they feel like they're trusted, they feel like they're valued, and they feel like they're a member of the team, and you have a relationship with them, they perform better, they do better stuff. They also they feel comfortable enough to give you input to help you do your job, to help you be better if you will allow them. Entrepreneurial traits and behaviors. So when you think about entrepreneurs, initiating a business venture, organizing necessary resources, and assuming associated risks. 4 important characteristics. Vision, dissatisfaction with the present, ability to get people on board, flexibility, openness to feedback, ability to learn and adapt, persistence and execution. When you're talking about these traits, there is a reason why entrepreneurs, the ones that succeed, and there's a reason why the ones fail that fail. I remember reading not too long ago about a business, a man who started a business, and he failed 7 times trying to get that business going. On the 8th time, he struck gold and became a millionaire. That's the persistence and execution. These people, they view things, they're not satisfied with the present. A lot of times they don't like the current situation they work in, or they've always had a passion, but they're dissatisfied, so they seek out to go do something else. They're very persuasive in getting other people involved to help, resourceful. And they're very flexible and open to feedback. And they learn. Like the guy, 7 times he failed, the 8th time he got it right. He learned something from every failure. So I wouldn't call it the 7 times failures. I would actually call them 7 learning experiences. So in summary, we talked about these things right here. I won't go through all those again. But the one thing I will mention is, what's your leadership orientation? What type of leader are you? And when you think in terms of what type of leader are you, let me digress. Think about the type of leader you would like to work for. And then ask yourself, what type of leader am I? That concludes chapter 2.